Tiny particles popped into existence. Those particles got clingy and started forming atoms. The first two atoms to show up were hydrogen and helium. No oxygen, no food, no Fortnite, just a whole lot of gas. Then, boom, stars happened. And stars exploded, and crashed into each other. And exploded again. All that cosmic drama created heavier elements, like carbon, iron, and gold. And then, more explosions. Somewhere along the way, our solar system showed up. Earth, back then, was basically a ball of lava getting pelted by flaming space junk. Like a cosmic dodgeball game, but you're the ball.
Okay.
Then, one of those giant flaming rocks hit us so hard, a chunk flew off and became the moon. Yeah, the moon exists because Earth got slapped. Over time, Earth cooled down. And guess what? It rained. Why? Because some of the stuff smashing into Earth brought water. That water evaporated, went up, came down, rinse and repeat. Eventually, oceans formed, volcanoes started throwing up land. And underwater, life began. Well, life, as in weird squishy things that could split themselves in half and eat sunlight for breakfast. By the way, if you're wondering who's behind this cosmic chaos, I'm No Cap Bro, and this channel? It's where we explain literally anything. One day, life in the ocean got a little too comfortable. So nature was like, you know what? Let's shake things up. The planet froze over. Completely, like Earth just forgot to pay its heating bill. This was the Ice Age. Well, one of several ice ages. Apparently, Earth has commitment issues and keeps ghosting its own climate. Eventually, the ocean threw a temper tantrum and boom, a sudden explosion of life underwater. Scientists call this the Cambrian explosion, or as we like to call it, the holy crap everything has legs now. Suddenly, creatures had eyes, mouths, legs, and a plan. Get out of the water. Except, they didn't, because the sun was still a giant cancer ball shooting UV death rays. No SPF, no survival. Also, there was no food on land. And most fish didn't have legs. Which, kinda important. Then one day, leg unlocked. Up on land. Worst decision in fish history. Because now, no going back, you're officially a land animal. Congrats, evolution, you played yourself. Fast forward a few 100 million years. And now we're in the era of big things. Like, really big things. Trees the size of skyscrapers. Bugs the size of cats. Basically nature on steroids. But plot twist. Almost all of it dies. Mass extinction, again. Yet somehow, these weird scaly things survived. And evolved into dinosaurs. Huge, majestic, and probably didn't roar like Hollywood says. Honestly, they may have sounded more like geese with anger issues. But still, cool as heck. Dinosaurs ruled the earth, and they were doing great. Big teeth, big tails, big attitude, until one day, the sky said, hey guys, wanna see a magic trick? Boom, meteor. Goodbye dinosaurs. Well, except for the ones that evolved into birds. So next time a pigeon poops on you, remember? That's basically a dinosaur dropping a mic. Anyway, now it's time for mammals to shine. Tiny, fluffy, weird little creatures who suddenly had zero competition. No T-Rex to eat them equals time to evolve like crazy. Some of them got smart. Some of them stood up. And some of them picked up a rock and thought, I wonder what happens if I hit this other rock with it. And boom, we have the Stone Age. At this point, Earth was like, okay, let's mix it up again. So, another ice age. Because apparently, the planet runs on chaos. Now, humans had to hunt by literally chasing animals until the animals gave up. Like, cardio was the original weapon. Eventually someone got tired of sprinting after lunch and said, hey, what if we just grow our own food? Agriculture. Farming meant people could stay in one place, build homes, raise kids, and invent stuff, like tools. Then someone said, these stone tools suck, let's try metal. Enter, the Bronze Age. Then the Iron Age, which basically means more food, more people, more problems, but also, more ideas. People started trading food, building towns, forming governments, writing things down, and making up gods to explain why lightning hates trees. And just like that, civilization. Civilization meant writing, farming, law, and people finally having enough free time to invent things like taxes. Thanks, civilization. Some of the earliest civilizations popped up along rivers. Because nothing says, let's build a city, like a guaranteed source of mud and mosquitoes. We got Mesopotamia, the Og civilization, where people invented writing, beer, and complaining. Ancient Egypt, famous for pyramids, mummies, and cats that were more important than humans. The Indus Valley, with organized streets and plumbing before it was cool. Ancient China, where dynasties rose, fell, and repeated like a bad group project. Norte Chico, in South America, proving you don't need to invent pottery to invent civilization. And then, Greece happened. The Greeks were like, let's invent drama, democracy, and philosophy, all in the same weekend. They loved thinking, so much that they sat around inventing logic. ethics, and reasons why everything sucks. Also, they had gods for everything. Sun god, war god, wine god, drama queen god, you name it. Meanwhile, over in India, people were thinking deep thoughts too. Hinduism was evolving, and a guy named Siddhartha sat under a tree, meditated, and leveled up into the Buddha. In China, everyone was fighting and lying and scheming. So a wise man named Confucius said, maybe we should not be terrible. And that became a philosophy. Back in the Middle East, a group of people believed in one god, which was a hot new idea at the time. Spoiler. It caught on. Meanwhile, Persia grew into a giant empire by being shockingly chill about religion and culture, way ahead of their time. Then Greece and Persia decided to throw hands. Because apparently, democracy and empire don't mix at parties. After fighting Persia, the Greeks threw a philosophy party and invited everyone. But eventually, their empire got tired. Enter Rome. What started as a tiny city of guys in sandals turned into a massive empire that conquered everything it saw, mostly because they thought world domination was a casual weekend activity. Rome loved roads, war, and architecture. But mostly, they loved being dramatic. Senators stabbing each other? Normal Tuesday. Meanwhile, in the Middle East, a man named Jesus was born. He preached love, peace, and really made bread and fish his whole personality. Then Rome got nervous and, yeah, you know the story. His followers didn't give up, though. They spread the word, and that word became Christianity. And that religion? Back east, trade was booming. China had silk, India had spices, and Rome had coins and ambition. So people started moving stuff across land and sea. The Silk Road was basically the Amazon Prime of the ancient world, except with camels. In Ethiopia, the kingdom of Axum built giant obelisks just to say, hey, we exist and we're fabulous. Meanwhile in the Americas, the Maya were building pyramids, discovering astronomy, and inventing calendars that would later confuse a lot of doomsday YouTubers. By 476 AD, the Roman Empire split in half. One half collapsed, the other half renamed itself and kept going like nothing happened. Classic rebranding. Europe entered the Middle Ages, aka, let's forget everything and start over mode. While the Byzantine Empire carried on with fancy robes and political backstabbing. While Europe was busy forgetting how to read, the Islamic world was thriving. In 610, a man named Muhammad received a message from God and shared it with everyone. This became Islam, and it spread fast. Soon, the Islamic caliphates were advancing in science, math, medicine, and architecture, while Europeans were still using leeches to cure everything, including headaches and death. In Baghdad, scholars built the House of Wisdom, basically the ancient version of Google, but with more scrolls. Meanwhile, the Vikings showed up in northern Europe like nice monasteries. Would be a shame if someone raided them. They explored, traded, and terrorized, basically the original open-world players. Also, invented Bluetooth, kind of. Back in France, some nobles were like, hey, what if we go to the Middle East and steal it? And the Pope said, sounds holy. So they launched the Crusades, a bunch of very dramatic road trips with swords. Most of them failed. One even accidentally attacked another Christian city. Oops. Over in East Asia, China invented gunpowder, which eventually led to fireworks. And also, guns. Surprise. In 1206, Genghis Khan was like, I'm bored, and decided to conquer half the planet. After the Mongol party started to chill, Europe finally decided to wake up. It was the Renaissance, which is French for, let's pretend we invented everything again. Italy led the charge with art, science, and a suspicious amount of dudes painting naked people. Meanwhile, the Ottoman Empire was booming. They took over Constantinople in 1453 and made it their own, renaming it Istanbul because branding matters. Then in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, looking for India. He found the Caribbean, and like a true European, he said, close enough. What followed was the age of exploration, aka, let's draw wildly inaccurate maps and call everything new. Spain and Portugal claimed huge chunks of the Americas. Britain and France showed up late but still wanted a slice. And suddenly, everyone had colonies. Back in Europe, a monk named Martin Luther was like, hey, maybe the church shouldn't sell salvation like concert tickets. And the church said, blocked. But it was too late, the Reformation had begun. Meanwhile, the Ottomans, under Suleiman the Magnificent, were being very magnificent, controlling trade routes, expanding their empire, and wearing the fanciest hats in history. Portugal tried to corner the spice market in the Indian Ocean. Spain went on a conquest spree. Britain invented tea time and colonialism. And France just wanted to be fancy and everywhere. But all this land grabbing and empire building got expensive. So governments started taxing their people. In America, the colonies were like, no taxation without representation. And Britain said, fine, no representation either. So they fought, and America became a country. Meanwhile, France had their own ideas, mostly involving guillotines. Lots of guillotines. After all the chopping and revolutioning, people in Europe said, okay, but what if we made machines do the work? Industrial Revolution, steam engines, spinning machines, coal-powered everything, faster transport, bigger cities, worse air. But hey, now your grandma could work in a factory at age 9. Progress. Europe started building empires like they were playing Monopoly with no rules. They colonized Africa, Asia. America was busy expanding westward, also by taking stuff. They fought a civil war over slavery, realized it was bad, and then promptly did terrible things to Native Americans anyway. Consistency. Meanwhile, Japan went from feudal samurai mode to "we're modern now" in like 5 minutes. They industrialized, beat Russia in a war, and became a major power faster than anyone expected. In the early 1900s, the world had a lot of weapons and a lot of ego. So naturally, World War I, everyone blamed Germany. Then came the Great Depression, which was neither great nor just a depression. In Germany, a guy with a tiny mustache and terrible ideas rose to power. World War II. Nazi Germany invaded half of Europe. Japan invaded half of Asia. Cities were bombed, people suffered. The war ended with 2 atomic bombs, a divided Germany, and a brand new global anxiety disorder. The United Nations was created to help countries talk it out, preferably without explosions. After World War II, the planet was like, let's not do that again. And then immediately split into 2 teams anyway. Team Capitalism, the United States. Team Communism, the Soviet Union. And thus began the Cold War, a global staring contest with nukes. They built bombs, made space rockets, and argued over literally everything. Who gets Germany? Who gets the moon? Who has the better soda? Wars broke out in Korea, Vietnam, and pretty much anywhere warm enough to fight. Meanwhile, everyone was too scared to blink, because nuclear winter is a bad look. But guess what? Nobody got nuked. The Berlin Wall fell. The Soviet Union collapsed like a bad Jenga tower. Capitalism high-fived itself. Then the 90s happened. Grunge music, flip phones, and the internet showed up. Suddenly, you could email someone across the world just to send them a chain letter. We were truly living in the future. Globalization kicked in. Borders blurred. Trade exploded. So did reality TV. Then came the 2000s. People survived Y2K, barely, made memes, watched YouTube, and pretended to understand Bitcoin. Social media connected everyone, and ruined Thanksgiving dinners forever. Smartphones, drones, 3D printing, AI. We even made a car that can fart and drive itself. Climate change? Still a thing. Inequality? Still a thing. Wealth gap? Still gappin'. And now we're here. A deeply connected, slightly chaotic, meme-powered planet with Wi-Fi. And somehow, still arguing over who gets what land. And that's the super chaotic history of everything. Still confused? Good, so are we. If you enjoyed the ride, smash that like button, leave a comment, and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next weird chapter of humanity. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.